If you've ever gripped something so tightly that your hand ached before you noticed you were even holding it, this story is for you. There's a particular kind of exhaustion that has nothing to do with sleep. You can rest for 8 hours and still wake up tired because the tiredness was never in your body. It was in your grip. And most of us have been gripping something for so long we've forgotten what our hands would feel like open. Today I want to tell you about a monk who carried a stranger's entire fortune across a river without once feeling its weight, and about the man who owned that fortune, who nearly drowned trying to carry it 3 feet from where he was already standing. What the monk said to him afterward was only 7 words, but those 7 words unmade something in the merchant that gold had spent a lifetime building. We'll get there. First, you need to understand the river and the man who feared it. Before we begin, tell me in the comments, what is the one thing in your life you're afraid to put down, even for a moment? It doesn't have to be money. Sometimes it's a person, a title, a version of yourself you built years ago. You might be surprised how many people are carrying the exact same weight. The river was called Sarn, and it had no bridge. This was by design, or at least by old agreement. The villages on either bank had decided, generations back, that a river without a bridge keeps a place honest. You cannot cross Sarn quickly. You cannot cross it while distracted. In the dry months, it came up to the waist, slow and the color of tea, and every trader who used the eastern road had to wade it, holding whatever they carried above their heads. Tarek had made this crossing 11 times in his life, and 11 times he had carried something worth less than what he carried now. He was a cloth merchant who had done well. Better than well, if you asked anyone in the market towns along the road. He had started with a single mule and a bolt of undyed cotton. Now he had 4 wagons, warehouses in 2 cities, and wrapped in oilcloth and strapped across his own back because he trusted no porter to carry it. A chest of gold coin that represented 11 years of a life spent never quite resting. He had sent his porters ahead with the wagons, the long way over the stone bridge 2 days north. That route was safer for cargo but slower, and it cost him a toll he resented paying, not because the coin mattered to a man of his means, but because paying it felt like admitting he could not manage everything himself. The gold, though, the gold he would not send by the long road, and he would not let another man's hands touch it either. So he stood at the edge of the Sarn in the late afternoon light, sweat already soaking through his tunic, and he stared at 40 feet of moving water as if it were an army. He had not eaten since morning. He had not, if he was honest with himself, truly rested in longer than he could remember. Not the kind of rest where the mind goes quiet, only the kind where the body lies still while the mind keeps working. He told himself this was simply what success required. Other merchants slept through their good fortune and woke up poor again. He had promised himself 11 years ago that he would never be one of them. What he had not noticed was how completely that promise had rearranged him. How it had reached into his shoulders and his jaw and the muscles around his eyes and left its fingerprints everywhere. You could see, if you watched him, that this was not really about the river. His shoulders were pulled up near his ears. His eyes moved constantly to the chest, then to the water, then to the 2 men fishing downstream who were almost certainly not thieves, but whom he had already decided to distrust. This was a man who had spent so many years protecting something that protecting it had become the only shape his body knew how to make. Sitting near the bank on a flat gray stone that travelers used as a resting place was an old monk. His robe was the color of dust and had been mended so many times it was hard to say what its original color had been. He carried nothing, not a bowl for begging, not a staff, not even sandals. His feet, bare and cracked from decades of roads, rested in the shallows where the current could reach them. He had been sitting there since morning, in no apparent hurry to be anywhere else. This is the part of the story that matters most, so remember it. The monk was not resting because he had nowhere to go. He was resting because he had nothing to protect while he got there. Tarek noticed him only because he needed someone to notice him. He wanted a witness, though he would not have said so. He paced along the bank for nearly an hour, testing the water with a stick, calculating currents, muttering about depth and footing, and the old monk watched all of this without offering a word. Finally, Tarek spoke, more to the river than to the man. "I cannot carry this across on my own back. It will pull me under if I misstep, and I will not let it out of my hands." But what he didn't know was that he had just described, without meaning to, the exact shape of his own life for the past 11 years. The monk finally spoke. His voice was unhurried, almost amused, though not unkindly. "Then let me carry it." Tarek laughed, a short, sharp sound with no real humor in it. "You want to rob me at the water's edge? A clever place for it. No one would hear the splash." "I have carried heavier things than gold across worse rivers than this," the monk said, "and I have nothing to gain from your coin except a wet robe." Tarek studied him, the bare feet, the empty hands, the robe with nothing sewn into its lining to hide a blade or a second purse. There was something almost insulting about how little the man owned. It made Tarek feel, for reasons he couldn't name, exposed. He refused, of course. He tried to cross alone first, the chest lashed to his back with rope, and made it perhaps 15 feet before the current found the gap between his footing and his fear, and he staggered, arms flailing, the chest dragging him sideways. He caught himself on a submerged rock, gasping, and had to crawl back to the bank on his hands and knees, the gold miraculously still strapped to him, his pride considerably less intact. And this is where everything changed, not because the water had beaten him, but because he had felt, for 3 full seconds in the middle of that river, what it would be like to lose everything at once. And some small, exhausted part of him had almost welcomed it. He sat on the bank afterward, soaked and shaking, and did not look at the monk for a long time. When he finally did, his voice had lost its edge. "If you take it and run, I will have nothing left. Do you understand that? Nothing." "I understand that you believe that," the monk said. "Those are different things." Tarek didn't have the strength left to argue with a riddle. He was tired in the specific way that has nothing to do with muscle. So he did the only thing left to do. He untied the ropes with hands that would not quite stop trembling, and he held the chest out toward a stranger with nothing to his name, and he let go. The monk lifted the chest as if it were a basket of bread. He did not stagger. He did not seem to notice the current pulling at his ankles or the stones shifting beneath his bare feet. He crossed the 40 feet of the Sarn in perhaps a third of the time it had taken Tarek to fail at 15, and he set the chest down gently on the far bank, in the dry grass, exactly where it needed to be. Remember this detail. It matters later. The monk did not walk away from the gold once he set it down. He turned around and walked back into the river to where Tarek was still standing, frozen on the near bank. Tarek crossed the water himself this time, unburdened, and it took him no effort at all. When he reached the far side, breathing hard but for entirely different reasons, he looked at his chest sitting untouched in the grass, and then at the old monk standing beside it with water dripping from the hem of his robe, and something in his chest cracked open in a way 11 years of counting coin had never managed. "How?" Tarek asked, and his voice came out smaller than he meant it to. "How did you carry something you don't even want?" The monk was quiet for a moment, watching the river move past them both, indifferent as it had been for 10,000 years before either of them arrived at its edge. Then he said it. 7 words, spoken plainly, without ceremony, the way a man might mention the weather. "You put it down. Now let go." Tarek stood there in the wet grass, gold at his feet, and did not understand at first. He thought the monk meant the chest, that he should release his grip on the rope, which he already had. But the monk was looking at his hands, and Tarek realized his fingers were still curled, still clenched, still shaped like they were gripping something, even though there was nothing left in them at all. That merchant is you. Every time you check your account balance twice in 1 hour, hoping the number will finally feel like enough. He is you when you keep working long after the need is past, because stopping feels like danger, even when nothing is chasing you. The gold was never really the problem. Tarek could have lost that chest in the river, and within a few years earned it back twice over. He was a capable man, and capable men rebuild. What could not be rebuilt so easily was the shape his hands had learned to make. 11 years of clenching had taught his body that letting go meant loss, when in fact the clenching itself was the only loss actually happening, minute by minute, every single day. This is what the old teachers meant when they spoke of attachment. Not the having of things, but the way we let our grip on them become the grip of our whole identity. Tarek did not merely own gold. Somewhere along the way, without ever deciding to, he had let the gold own the muscles in his hands, the tension in his shoulders, the suspicion in his eyes toward 2 fishermen who wanted nothing from him. Attachment is rarely about the object. It is about what we quietly agree to become in order to keep it. And the cruelest part is that the object rarely asks this of us. We offer it up ourselves, one small surrender at a time, until surrendering feels like safety, and safety feels like a locked fist. The monk was not without possessions because he despised gold, or because poverty was some kind of virtue. He was without possessions because he had learned, long before Tarek met him, that a hand can only be open or closed, and only one of those hands can receive anything new. Notice, too, what the monk did not do. He did not lecture Tarek on the riverbank about the emptiness of material things. He did not tell him to give away his warehouses or abandon his trade. He simply picked up what Tarek could not, carried it with an ease that came from decades of practice, and set it down exactly where it belonged. The teaching was not in a sermon. It was in the demonstration, in watching someone hold real weight without being changed by it, and realizing for the first time that this was possible. Most of us have never actually seen what it looks like to carry responsibility without carrying fear alongside it. So we assume the two are the same thing, permanently fused. They are not. They only feel fused because we have never once set them down separately to check. So here is what I want you to do, starting tonight, with something far more achievable than emptying your accounts or giving away your home. First, choose one thing you check obsessively: a balance, a number, a status, a message thread, and go 24 hours without checking it. Notice what your hands do in the moments you would normally reach for it. That restlessness is the grip made visible. Second, before you sleep tonight, write down 3 things money cannot buy that you already own. Not things you hope to earn. Things you already have right now, tonight, that no river and no thief could ever take from you. Third, the next time you feel that familiar tightness in your chest, your jaw, your shoulders, before reaching for whatever usually loosens it, ask yourself one honest question. What exactly am I afraid will happen if I open my hand right now? Don't answer quickly. Sit with it the way the monk sat on that gray stone, in no hurry to be anywhere else. Picture the river now, at dusk, the light gone the color of weak tea, the current still moving the way it had moved for 10,000 years and would move for 10,000 more, entirely unconcerned with what any of us carry across it. On the far bank, a chest of gold sits in tall grass, already forgotten by the man who once could not sleep for guarding it. Tarek crossed the eastern road many more times after that day, and the chest crossed with him, but something had shifted in how he held the rope. His porters said in later years that he became known for paying fair wages without being asked twice, and for occasionally giving coin to travelers he had never met and would never see again. Not because he had become careless with money, but because he had finally understood that money was never what he'd been protecting. You are not being asked to become a monk. You are not being asked to own nothing. You are only being asked to notice which of your hands are still closed around something you set down a long time ago. What you release does not disappear. It simply stops costing you what it has been costing you every single day without your permission. If this story gave you even a single unclenched breath, there are more waiting for you here. Stories build the same way, from the same old patient wisdom. Next time, I want to tell you about a king who traded his crown for one single night of uninterrupted sleep, and what he discovered when he finally woke up without one. Walk gently, hold loosely,